Alright, so we're about halfway through the 2020s as a decade, and I wanted to take a look at the worst UFC champions up until now. There's been quite a lot of UFC champions in 2020, or the 2020 decade, I should say, and some of them have been bad. So today I've got a slideshow I'm going to share with you. We're going to take a look at the worst ones, or who I think are the worst ones. But before we get into it, please like and subscribe, it really helps out. And yeah, so here's the first one. It would be Bilal. I've got Bilal here. And just to preface this, I'm kind of going to go through, like, everything, like, their fighting ability or their personality. And a lot of stuff is going to be factoring into these guys. So first we have Bilal. Bilal is Bilal. I've put him here because, he had no defenses. He beat Leon Edwards, which is like actually not really a good win nowadays. Because I mean, after this fight, Leon Edwards has lost twice. He's not won since Covington, I believe, which is like almost 3 years ago. So yeah, the Edwards win isn't that good anymore. He got no defenses because he was supposed to fight when he got the belt. He was supposed to fight. Why have I just forgot his name? The guy, who he was supposed to fight. He's not been here for so long. That's why I forgot. I can't. It's blanking me right now. Anyway, and then he lost to JDM. And he's also boring. He's Bilal. Bilal as a champion was like the worst. Dana White couldn't wait to get rid of Bilal as a champion. And because he just says all these cringy stuff and he has no promotability. So Bilal, I'm putting him as one of the kind of worst champions of the 2020s. Yeah, there was kind of nothing really there. Obviously his fight with JDM was okay, but he did lose, so that speaks for itself, I guess. So next, and this one will be controversial, I've got Jon Jones. Not so much bad because of like his fighting ability, because obviously it's Jon Jones. He's regarded as one of the best ever. Minus the PEDs or whatever you want to say, minus the hit and runs and the controversies. But Jon Jones at heavyweight, because at heavyweight was one of the worst champions we've seen in the 2020s. And that is because he fought an old Stipe. His last fight was fighting old man Stipe, which should never have been a fight in the first place because it shouldn't be. Stipe was out of the rankings. Jon Jones and the UFC just wanted to put together this, like, who's the best heavyweight, or it's like the light heavyweight GOAT versus the heavyweight GOAT, and who's the best one? Who's going to come out on top? This kind of like novel fight, you know what I mean? This novel fight that kind of no one really asked for. And because of that fight, they made an interim championship because, or rather I should say, that fight was supposed to happen a year prior. And then Jon Jones injured himself, so they had to make an interim championship out of that, which obviously the interim champion was Tom Aspinall. But they still made the original Stipe versus Jones fight a year later, and then because of that, because Jon Jones didn't want to fight his interim champion, he held the division up. He held the division up for like 2 years. Jon Jones won the belt in March 2023, and he vacated, summer 2025? So he held the division up for 2 years and also ducked Tom Aspinall the whole time because he didn't want to fight his interim champion. Because he was asking for so much money and stuff like that. But regardless of money, he still ducked. It's like, and he didn't vacate after he got, when he got injured because he tore his chest muscle, his pectoral muscle, before the initial scheduling of the Stipe fight, and he didn't vacate. Any other person, they're going to get vacated by the UFC. Like, if Olberg right now, if he gets vacated, this just kind of goes to show the UFC did Jon Jones a favour by not making him vacate after he got injured. So yeah, that's that. And then they made the stupid interim belt. Anyway, so that's Jon Jones, so I have him there. Next, we have Raquel Pennington, and this kind of just speaks for itself. Like, I'm sure if you ask most UFC fans, they have completely forgotten that Raquel Pennington was a champion at bantamweight. And I've got her here because as one of the worst champions, because boring, as in no personality. Like, I don't even know who like Raquel Pennington is in terms of what she speaks like or whatever. She's just so boring. Her fighting style is boring. She got no defenses. She won the belt against Mayra Bueno Silva, who has now after that fight, she's on a 4-fight losing streak, 5 including the fight against Pennington. And I've got it here because Raquel Pennington only won the belt because she fought Mayra Bueno Silva and Mary Silva was dominating her for like the first round or 2 rounds, and she just gassed herself out. Mary Silva gassed herself out and just done nothing for the rest of the fight, and just allowed Raquel Pennington to hit these like, or hit her with like, you know, like weak shots, but that added up and that went to a decision and she won. So yeah, Raquel Pennington, one of the most forgetful champions ever in the UFC, like ever. So yeah. Next, Jamal Hill. And this one might seem a bit controversial as well, because Jamal Hill, he, you know, it was a good fight against Teixeira when he initially won the belt. And then he got injured, so he didn't actually lose the belt, and you know what I mean? So, but he had no defenses. Obviously, that's not his fault, technically, because he got injured, because he tore his, I think it was his Achilles heel that he tore, and that forced him out, and that's when, who was it that fought? It was Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira for the vacant belt. So that happened. I've got this here. So after obviously he came back, Jamal Hill came back and fought Alex Pereira at UFC 300. He was the main event because he was owed a title fight because he got injured and then vacated. He was owed a title fight upon his return. And he fought Pereira, and Pereira obviously beat him in the first round, you know, the left hook with the follow-up. And after that fight, he made so many excuses. He was saying like Pereira stepped on his foot, because if you remember during, or just before the finishing sequence, Hill kicked Pereira in the balls. Pereira said it was cool, let's go, and then he followed up with a left hook. And Jamal Hill was just like, you know, Pereira just took advantage of the pause, and you know, I wasn't focused, and that's how he caught me and all that stuff. So if you want to treat Jamal Hill's title reign like he never lost, and it was like he was making his first title defense against Pereira, you could do that, I guess, but he didn't win it, so he had no title defenses. And even the fight against Teixeira, and I said it was a decent fight, Teixeira was really old. Teixeira was like, what, 41 in that fight? 42? And it's like, yeah, Teixeira was kind of good, but it's like he's still like old, and Jamal Hill's young, so it's like, you're kind of supposed to win that fight regardless, so yeah. So I'm putting Jamal Hill in one of the worst champions. Next is Yair Rodriguez. Obviously not undisputed. He is he was an interim champion. He beat Josh Emmett to win the interim championship, which he didn't deserve. Yair Rodriguez won the interim belt in February 2023 on the Makhachev Volkanovski card, when Volkanovski moved up the first time, and it was the co-main event. And they put an interim championship because Volkanovski moved up, and it was like, oh, let's just milk it for an interim championship. Just in case Volk wins the lightweight belt, we'll just make an interim championship just in case. And Yair Rodriguez does not deserve this champion. To call Yair Rodriguez a champion is like the most insulting thing to like the aspect of a champion. Because he didn't deserve it, and why didn't he deserve it? Because the 2 fights before this fight, he lost to Max Holloway at the end of 2021, and then in 2022 he came back and beat Brian Ortega. And when I say beat Brian Ortega, I mean they were in the fight for what, like, I think it might have been less than a minute. And basically, Brian Ortega like pulled I think it was his shoulder out of the socket on like a takedown. I can't exactly remember, but Brian Ortega got injured, and Yair Rodriguez technically got the win. However, it's not like he finished him or he done anything to make the injury happen, essentially. So then he was on a 1-fight win streak. Volkanovski decided to move up, and the UFC were like, let's put together an interim title fight. And Yair Rodriguez got it because he was kind of one of the only couple. Him and Emmett were like the only people who could like get a fight. Like Holloway just lost to Volkanovski. He doesn't deserve a interim title fight. You know what I mean? So they put that together, and he beat Emmett to win it. So it's like Emmett didn't even deserve that. Technically speaking, he didn't deserve it either, or maybe he deserved it. But his previous fights before that fight, it was like he maybe should have even lost. I think it was Dan Ige, which was like a close one. I can't remember who else it was, but they were fights that could go either way. So it's like it wasn't really deserved. The whole thing with that interim belt situation was like just completely weird. And he's annoying. He whines all the time. I hate. I do not like Yair Rodriguez's personality. I do not like it one bit. So yeah, I'm putting him there. Next, Magomed Ankalaev. No title defenses, and he was KO'd in 2 minutes against his rematch now, Alex Pereira, and he's Muslim. I'm kidding. That last part's a joke. Anyway, so yeah, no title defenses. Obviously he beat Alex Pereira, and then immediate rematch. What, 6 months later, and then got KO'd in 2 minutes. And the whole time, like in between that, he was saying, um, Alex Pereira's nothing. Like he was talking the big talk, talking the big game, and then got KO'd in 2 minutes. And he hasn't even been seen. It's almost been a year, or actually has it? It's been like 9 months, and there's like barely any talk of Ankalaev coming back. I've not heard anything, I don't believe, of Ankalaev coming back. Who knows? But it's like he's taking time off for whatever reason. So it's, and he never really fights that often. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he's not like a obviously this Ankalaev isn't a bad fighter at all. I'm just putting him in the worst champions because he got no title defenses and because he was KO'd in 2 minutes. I mean, that kind of just speaks for himself, or speaks for itself rather. So yeah, plus he's, I don't know, it was a bit annoying like online, like always like calling out Pereira and stuff. And even when he beat Pereira, he like, it was like a close fight. It was a decision fight which could have gone. I think Ankalaev won the fight, but it was like, it was a really close fight. It wasn't as if like Ankalaev dominated him or finished him or whatever. It was like a close fight, and then Alex Pereira just KO'd him like immediately after. So yeah, putting him there. Next, Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza was, she got no title defenses, and she might be the worst UFC champion ever. Like ever. Like definitely in the 2020s, and maybe ever, because she won the belt. If you remember, she won the belt against Rose Namajunas in the most boring fight ever. It was on the co-main event to Gaethje versus Oliveira, when Oliveira choked out Gaethje. And it was that really, really boring fight where they just, Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza just stared at each other for like 25 minutes. And it was like, it's regarded as one of the worst UFC fights ever. And she won the belt off of that. She had no title defenses because in her next fight, when she defended the belt against, why have I just forgotten the name? Zhang Wei Li. Against Zhang Wei Li finished her in like round 2 or 3. I actually can't remember what round it was, but it was like an armbar or a crucifix or something like that. Yeah, she won the belt from a horrible fight and no defenses and just boring, like just absolutely no personality. There would be no reason to watch her fight. Not for her fighting style, not for her personality, just one of the most boring, unnecessary, worst UFC champions ever. So yeah, she is probably the worst out of this whole list. Next, I've got JDM. This is similar to Ankalaev, where it's like, I don't think he's a bad fighter, just his championship reign was not good because he had no defenses. Because I like JDM, so like, I actually like JDM. Hopefully he can beat Pratas this weekend, but we'll see. No defenses. When he lost his belt, he fought a smaller, technically, obviously it was Makhachev coming up from lightweight. He's technically the smaller guy, and he lost to Makhachev. And not only did he lose, he got ragdolled. He got ragdolled by Makhachev. Did not challenge him one bit, and like rarely ever put any hurt or any pushback against Makhachev in that fight. He just got ragdolled for 5 rounds, which really was a really uneventful fight. And yeah, and also when he beat Bilal for the championship, and it's like, as I said, I thought Bilal was one of the worst champions, and JDM beat him. So it's like, is it really that good of a win? So I don't really think so. So I'm gonna say JDM. Yeah, just what his championship rate. It was unlucky as well because obviously he comes up against Makhachev in his first title defense, and it's like, Makhachev is one of the kind of best ever. So it's like, what can you really do? So yeah, that's JDM. And I believe finally we have Juliana Pena. and specifically her second reign, because her first reign, it was okay. It was like, obviously she only had one fight in her first reign. It was she beat Nunes and then lost to Nunes, but it's like, I guess the win, she beat Nunes. It's like in her win, so it's like she's not that bad. But that was the first one, so this is that wasn't early. What was that again? 2021. But this one was worse because one, she had no defenses. She didn't have before, but this time, no defenses, boring. Juliana Pena would just try the hardest to be like this, like like bitch mom, like mom fighter or whatever, and she's like, I'm the bit, like this whole fake character no one wants to watch. She tried her best, but it wasn't really good. And she beat Pennington to win the belt when she won it the second time. It's like, and as I said, Pennington, I think she's really bad champion. So she beat Pennington, and it's like, okay, you beat Pennington, that doesn't really mean much. And then she got absolutely like destroyed by Kayla Harrison in the next fight, so that was fun to watch. And then she retired, so yeah, just a very uneventful thing. She was wanting Nunes to come back and all that stuff, but saying like Nunes ran from the rematch and all that stuff, because Juliana Pena was supposed to fight Nunes a second time, and then Pena pulled out, I believe. So yeah, that's Juliana Pena. She's the last one. Yeah. So that's the video. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Really helps out. If you disagreed with any of my opinions, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you later. Bye.